Okay, folks, here we go on another live, yes, another live surveillance. And I've had a lot of people have asked me, why do you call it live when you're not live on YouTube? And that's a really good question. And I could do videos live on YouTube. I could do live streams. However, in these types of situations, I have to be very careful that I am not putting out any identifying information about the subject that I am watching. I don't want to put anything out there that would, help people identify the location where I'm at or anything like that. Because you have to remember, we are just out there gathering the facts for, in this particular case, it is a workers' comp case. We're just gathering the facts for the client to see if anything may be suspicious. The individual has not been accused of anything. They haven't been charged with anything. So they are definitely innocent, and we don't want to put anything out there that puts them in a different light or just portrays them as being potentially a fraudster, because not all of these cases are fraudsters. So that's kind of that. That's why I do them. I record them live, but then I have to do a little bit of editing. I have to make sure there's not like street signs in my window, especially when we're going to these small towns where I'm going now. It's very easy if you were able to see cross streets to identify almost exactly where I was at. So I have to make sure that that's all secure and everything like that. This case is it's an activity check. It's not a full day surveillance. We are contracted to go out and do 4 hours of activity. It is a workers' comp case. This is a gentleman who's living with a young lady in an apartment in a smaller town, as I had said. So it's going to be a little tougher because it's a smaller town, but I've got all of the identifying information on him and his girlfriend. I've got their photos, I've got their descriptions. We have license plates and vehicles for both subjects, so we're pretty good to go. And I did check this out on another day earlier, and it's going to be a fairly simple setup. I will probably not have to black out. I think there's actually an area with a large public parking area that I can watch down the street, and I can see if the subject is active, or at least if the subject leaves the area. On a lot of these activity checks, not a whole lot ever happens, and I don't really anticipate a lot happening with this one, but then you never know. This particular subject has some back injuries and other injuries related to a work incident that had occurred, and he's unable to lift, push, pull, drag anything over 20 pounds, and we see that a lot. Can't lift, pull, drag, drop, or anything like that. Anything over 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 20 pounds, 40 pounds, whatever the limit is. This individual's limits are 20 pounds. I have done a little bit of OSINT, open source intelligence investigation on him, and by looking at everything on his social profiles, it appears like he probably is injured. But they just want to make sure that he's complying with what the doctors say that he's supposed to be doing or not doing. Now, a lot of these, you kind of expect to not have anything, but I had one the other day where we went out on an activity check, and it was an older gentleman, and he had similar restrictions, and really did not believe we were going to see him doing anything. And I pull up to the residence on my spot check prior to the surveillance, to the activity check, and lo and behold, outside in his driveway on the street, there are all kinds of vehicles, and different vehicles, different plates. I ended up running all of them. They all belong to people that live outside of this neighborhood. They don't live directly in this neighborhood. And I started comparing some of the numbers to the comp report we had pulled, and some of those people were known associates with our subject. And I had also noticed when I had went by, I did a walk by on it, and I noticed a lot of oil stains in the dirt next to the driveway and on the driveway, and different parts of cardboard boxes for auto parts and different things like that. And I thought, oh my gosh, he must be like working on cars a lot and stuff. And lo and behold, in that activity, I saw him doing a little bit of work on a car. Nothing major, but I saw a little bit of work on a car. He looked at another one. He did go to a parts store. Got hold of the client after that, and they said, yeah, let's get out there and let's do some surveillance. Ended up doing 5 days of surveillance and got tons and tons of video of him working on cars and trucks and everything else right there at his house. He had a little makeshift shop. I'm sure his neighbors weren't real happy with it, but there he was. And he was a mechanic by trade, and he was injured at work, and he was unable to go to work, but yet he's able to work 10, 12-hour days as a mechanic, working for cash probably for his friends and families and other clients and stuff. So that one turned out really, really well. So I say this one may not be very exciting. We may not see much activity, but then you absolutely never know. Well, folks, we are on scene and everything is looking good. I have a place inside the complex where I'm parked right now. I'm going to go on foot surveillance really quick and see if I can see anything. I can't really see the apartment that he lives in. All these apartments have a balcony. So I'm going to go see if I can see any activity. I do have a vehicle here that's associated with him. So everything's looking good. So I will be back in just a minute. Okay, well, there are definitely signs of life in the apartment. I can see lights on. I was able to walk right past the front door. There is a little welcome sign on the front as well, so that's good. I ran across one of the other tenants here, and just whenever I do that, I chit-chat with people, say hi. I just act like I'm part of the community. You don't want to act like you stand out. You don't want to be, just standoffish or anything like that. So I was chit-chatting and I said, hey, I'm kind of new here. Do you know what time the mail comes? Because there is a community mailbox out here where everyone gets their mail. And he said, oh yeah, it's usually around 1:30 in the afternoon. And that's really good information to have. If you know what time the mail comes, it's around 1:30 in the afternoon, you're probably going to see activity if they're expecting mail after the mail comes. So afternoon would be a good time to be able to gather that kind of activity. I also noticed trash trucks coming around. Now that's really good to have in a lot of instances, have that kind of information. In this particular case, probably not that big of a deal because it's apartments. Everyone uses the community dumpsters and stuff like that. They may try to get it out right on trash day, but they're not obligated. Like they don't have to put their trash out on the curb or anything like that. But that is something that's always good to ask if you're doing a neighborhood walk by or something like that, and you see neighbors. Just act like you're new to the neighborhood, or you're looking at a house in the neighborhood or something like that, and ask them questions like, when does the mail come? When is trash pickup? Do you have to use a certain trash company? Some of the towns and the cities around here, you have to use a certain trash company. Some of them you can use whatever one that you want. And you can look at the trash cans that are out and figure out which companies are servicing that area. And you can call them and ask them too, when is trash pickup day for this area, on the corner of First Avenue and A Street in XYZ town. Anyway, I'm going to go down the street a little bit. I'm a little close to where I want to be if I have to follow right now. So I'm going to go down the street a little bit where I can watch the mailboxes and I can watch the vehicle, and I'm going to get all set up, okay? Well, folks, we are all set up, and as I often say, I love it when a plan comes together. I am over here in a little shopping mall, a little strip mall here, just down the street, about a block and a half away from the vehicle, one of the vehicles, his vehicle, and the mailboxes that I want to watch. I can't see the apartments, but there's really no place that I could sit and watch the apartments. So this is absolutely perfect. If he was to come down here and go shopping, there's a convenience store, grocery store, a lot of restaurants, fast food places, things like that. So if he walked down here, I would see him coming down here. It's the only logical exit out of the neighborhood. This street right here where I'm watching, or the one right over there, and I can see that, and I can see his vehicle. His girlfriend's vehicle is around the corner, so if it leaves, I'll be able to see that one as well. So I just love it when I have these kind of setups. It's a nice case. It's a 4-hour activity. I'm not out here for a long time. The weather is perfect. It's like around 60 degrees right now with sunshine here in Colorado. If I'm sitting in full sun, I am definitely going to cook, but I've got some shade trees I can park by right here, which gives me some cover. I'm in a public parking lot. I don't need to completely black out. There are cars all over the place, so I'm going to fit right in. I can have my window down and I can enjoy the day. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll come back when I see some activity. Well, folks, had a little bit of activity there. I was parked up the street watching and saw a little bit of activity around the mailbox. So I moved a little bit closer so I could see what's going on. I could watch the vehicle. Then I saw one of those nice little blue vans, the ones that drive around and they're delivering packages to everybody. and I thought, what are the chances that he might get a package? So I went on foot surveillance, and I went into the unit, and sure enough, the driver went in there with several packages. And I have never seen them do this. Maybe they just do it in apartment buildings. But he would drop off a package and knock on the door, and then go to another one, drop off the package, knock on the door. And when he got to the subject's door, he just walked right on by. But he stopped at the very next door, and he dropped off a package, knocked on the door, went back around, came to the door across the hallway from the client's door, and he dropped off a package, and he knocked on the door, and then he left. That was all the packages he had on that floor. And I was down the hall a bit, and I was just sitting there with my video running, because I just ran in really quick to see what was going on. And sure enough, people started opening their doors, and my subject opened the door and looked. He didn't have a package, but he heard all the door knocking, and he did peek his head out and look, so I know that he's in there. So now we'll have to see if anything else happens. Well, folks, we did have a little more activity there. A little bit unnerving, a good lesson even for me, to stay on your toes and be prepared, and maybe not jump the gun when something happens. I was back at that little shopping center watching down the street, and then I saw him coming out to his car, got some video at a distance, gets in his car, he has to flip a U, and he's driving right towards me. And I, of course, being in the parking lot, there's a street between us, I knew he was going to come up and probably turn on that street. And so I start my car and I start heading towards the exit of the shopping center. And lo and behold, I get to the exit at the shopping center as he's getting to the stop sign at the end of his street. And wouldn't you know it, yep, he drove right through, right into the shopping center, and here I was at the exit. So I couldn't like flip a U or anything. I just had to, I took a right, and then I went down a little ways, and there was another entrance, and I went in there, and I was able to see where he went, and I got some video. He just went over to a convenience store, went in and got some smokes and some other stuff, and went back, and then he went back to the apartment. So, and then our 4-hour activity check ended at the 4-hour mark. But we got a little bit of video, and we have we're going to send that on to the client. I've called and left them an update to see if they want to have us do any more by chance. It was a fruitful day as far as we got video of the subject on multiple occasions, which is always good. Clients love it when you're able to get at least a little bit of video in these situations. I think it may come back just because we verified that he is there, and we verified that there is some activity, so they might want to see if he's doing even more, and a lot of these end up turning into 2 or 3 day surveillances afterwards. So all that's left is the report writing and the video editing. We don't have a lot of video to edit. We don't have a huge report to write. Then I get that off to the client, of course, and we'll be working on our next case. So that concludes this one.